Hey folks, sorry I'm not here today, but we're still going to be taking our quiz on solving inequalities. So I wanted to make sure that we get a little extra practice. Instead of just giving you a SNB and the answers, I wanted to make sure we went over those three problems together-ish, so that you would be able to look at what you did. If you made any common mistakes, you'd have an opportunity to recognize it before doing that on the quiz. So, grab your sheet. Hopefully you already have all three problems done. That was the directions if you read it at the top. The first problem is 3x plus 2 is less than 5. Now if we're asked to solve and graph this, what we need to do is get our x all alone. The way we're going to do that is through inverse operations here. There's no like terms to combine on the same side. So the inverse of a plus 2 is we subtract 2. We're left with 3x is less than 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Now we have x is less than 1. To graph that on a number line, we're going to put 1 in the middle, a couple items that are below, and a couple numbers above. We look at this sign. If it does not have the equal to with it, then it's going to be an open dot at this number. Open dot at 1. The smaller part of our sign is near the x, so it should be going towards these smaller numbers. Okay, again, going into the larger negatives or the smaller numbers if you're all in positives. Okay, so you should have had, this is your answer, and this is your graph. The second problem is a little bit harder because it looks like it has a fraction in it. We have negative x over 2 minus 3 is greater than or equal to 5. Here we're going to do similar steps. We're going to get rid of our addition and subtraction first. We're going to add 3 to each side. We're left with negative x over 2 is greater than or equal to 5 plus 3 is 8. Now from here, you should recognize that this means division. And the way that we cancel out division is with multiplication. So we're going to take this and the sign with it. Do not leave that negative there. Okay, this is very important. We're going to cancel out our division with multiplication of a negative 2 on each side. Negatives cancel, the 2's cancel. We're left with x. 8 times negative 2 is a negative 16. And then because we multiplied by a negative, we're going to flip our symbol. Okay? Again, when we multiply or divide by a negative number, and if you got this wrong, make sure you write it in the bottom where it says to reflect on what you did incorrectly. If it's multiply or divide by a negative, we need to flip that symbol. Okay, right there, it changes. Now, again, we're asked to graph it. So I'm going to put a 16 here. We'll go a couple below, so we'd be at 15, 14. A couple above, 17, 18. We're going to have a closed dot because of this symbol at 16. X is towards the less than piece of this, so it's smaller, so we're going to go towards the smaller numbers. Okay? If the symbol opens up to the x, you go towards the larger. If the symbol is closed next to the x, you go towards the smaller. Okay, be careful with that. Graphing these, the dot's pretty easy, but sometimes the direction of your arrow can be very tricky. The last problem on your sit and begin is, if we look at an A-word problem, I'm sure you can read it along with me. It says beachcombing. Jay has lost his mother's favorite necklace, so we will rent a metal detector to try and find it. A rental company charges a one-time fee of $15. Okay? One time. That means it's only happening once. It doesn't get added on over and over again. A one-time fee of $15 plus, that's a key word right there, $2 per hour to rent the metal detector. Jay has $35 to spend. What is the maximum amount of time that he can rent the metal detector? And the directions are to write an inequality and solve. Okay? Being that he only has $35, the amount of money he has to spend is going to be on one side, and the amount of money that he has is going to be on the other side of our inequality. This amount is going to be less than or equal to the 35. This can never be bigger than it. If all he has is $35, he can't charge up $38 worth of fees and then not be able to pay for it. The most it can be is 35, which is why we have the equals, and our amount of charges can be less. It doesn't have to be exactly. So from there, now that we have our sign and our number that's by itself, we have a one-time fee of $15. They even used the word plus here. Okay, we know we're combining these to get our total amount of money we're getting charged by. So I'm going to put a plus sign. $2. The word per, we've talked about, it means multiply. It can also mean divide, depending on the context. So if we think about it, $2, and then we do it for 3 hours, we would do 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is 6. Or 2 times our amount of hours, which is 3. So we're going to do 2 times our h. H is the unknown, our variable. Okay. Now to solve this inequality, we're going to do what we did in the first 2 problems. Subtract 15 from each side. I'm going to be left with 2h is less than or equal to 35 minus 15, which is 20. Divide by 2, divide by 2. H is less than or equal to 10. Okay, it doesn't say we need to graph this. Now that we have this equation solved, we really should put it back into the context. This means the hours he can rent it, okay, the hours to rent that metal detector must be less than or equal to 10. Okay, he cannot rent it for even a half hour more than 10. 10 is the maximum he's going to be able to do without going over his $35. But again, he can rent less than that 10-hour span if he wants to, okay? That's also a possibility. So at this point, the sub is not going to give you your quiz unless this bottom piece here on your sheet, you fill it out. So you've watched the video, you've gone over the 3 problems. You should fix your mistakes, okay? Quickly, in this section down here, you should write me a couple sentences about the common mistake, if there was any that you made. If you did it all right, fantastic, right? I rock, and I'm awesome, and I'm going to get an A on my quiz, okay? Once you're done that, you can grab a calculator, hand this sheet to her, make sure your name is on it, and get started on your quiz. Good luck, folks. Try your hardest. Remember, partial credit with work. If you don't show work, I'm not giving you partial credit. So take your time, do your best, and show all of the steps. It requires a lot to get these done. All right? Do your best. I mean it.